Welcome to Operational Harmony, Balancing Business and Mental Well-Being, a podcast with honest discussions about professional life and mental well-being in a natural conversational way. Your host is Nikki, founder of Nikki's Office, where she supports entrepreneurs through operations, systems, and strategy. And now, let's hear from our guest.
Hi, I'm Betsy Kudlinski. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner and a life coach, and I have worked with animals all of my life. So, about 35 years professionally working with animals. So, we're not talking about 0 to 10, and then there's a few years in there, and then the last several years while I've been doing what I'm doing now. I call my work renaturing. It is my version of a body-centered trauma resolution practice, and that means that we work together to help you figure out what in your body is something that you actually want to be there, and what in your patterns and your ways of handling stress and trauma in your life is like, what is it that you're doing because you like that strategy, and what is just by rote because of things that have happened in your past. Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about it.
So first I want to define some words. Because I
Please.
think I know what somatic means, but I could be completely off. So
Okay.
can we define that?
Sure. Somatic is having to do with the body. And in Western culture, it's all about the brain, right? We often consider the human part of us to be like the prefrontal cortex, and then the rest of us is like a meat robot. Somatic is bringing in the whole human, the whole animal that is us. And somatic experiencing is a discrete like modality that teaches people to work with the body around trauma and trauma that has been held within the body.
So what made you switch from doing animals to the somatic?
Yeah, my body couldn't take it anymore. I lived my life the best I could and worked with animals, and a whole lot of people out there. I have lived with trauma all my life. I had developmental trauma as a child and complex trauma throughout my life. And then I've had a couple of big events, which are often considered big T trauma. And I discounted all of it and just continued to live the way that I had been taught to live and the way that my body had figured out to live. But it all just accumulated. It came to a collapse point, and I couldn't do anything anymore. And that's actually happened to me a couple times. I'm diagnosed with a chronic illness, but my belief, we all get to decide how we view everything for ourselves. My understanding is that my chronic illness comes from, or my chronic condition comes from trauma in my body and the accumulation of stress in my body. And I started to realize probably 8 years ago, I started to realize like I looked at lists of PTSD or complex PTSD symptoms, and I was like, so this describes me, but nothing bad has ever happened to me. I don't understand. And so I kept that insinuated itself into my consciousness. And so I kept thinking about it and trying to figure out what the heck. And finally, I was able to go, "Oh, I guess a couple of things have happened to me. I guess I went through this and there was this too." And so once I acknowledged and embraced the fact that my body is holding an awful lot of old stuff, my body and my brain is holding an awful lot of old stuff, I was like, okay, what do I do now? And I've been in therapy before, but therapy didn't ever touch this stuff for me. And so a dear friend suggested that I read the first book by the guy who started somatic experiencing 40, 50 years ago. And it just made sense to me. I think because of my background in animals, and somatic experiencing is based on a large part of it is based on animal behavior, ethology. And it was just like, oh, everything makes sense now. And so I went into that. I got my own practitioner and then I went into training and doing that for me. But yeah, it was because my body threw up the white flag and was like, nope, I can't do this anymore. Nope, I will not do anything. Spent a year and a half on the couch in the bed. And then more recently, after COVID, I did it again because COVID, the whole pandemic, that's a very stressful time.
Yeah. So for me, I knew I had the big T's. I had a couple of them, and I acknowledged that those were bad situations. But I didn't recognize the fact that I was raised by a narcissist. And I know a lot of people throw that word around and they're like, oh no, my mom was a narcissist. You haven't met one until you have talked about my mom for an hour with me and go, oh, really? Because she was her and there was no way around it. But I also got my mom had 4 daughters. Out of the unlucky position, I got the number 2 daughter spot, which meant I was never the golden child. How dare I even think I could be? And then my sister, who is 18 months younger than me, ended up with epilepsy and being a pathological liar who told stories. Anybody else in our family who lied would get in trouble. Hers were just stories. And then my youngest sister had her stepdad who she still had to deal with my mom a lot worse than either the other two. So me and her are the closest, but she had her dad. And so I was left out there chilling on my own. And I didn't realize until I was talking to my therapist about doing DBT. Not DBT, the buzzies. Which one is that?
Not EFT, that's tapping. Do you mean the like following the lights or following the things?
Or the buzz,
EMDR?
the things. Yeah, that one. Yes. Okay. So we were going over everything. And when she had to pull out the 3rd piece of paper for another thing that happened, I was just like, oh, I am a whiny baby. What in the world is happening? And so for me, that was a wake-up call that, not that I didn't remember things happening, but that because everybody else dismissed them so much, I dismissed them.
Yeah, Nikki, one of the things that I have learned is that trauma happens in relationship. And so what that often means is that you didn't get what you needed in relationship with another human being, because we're social animals. And so the fact that it was normal and it was unspoken. And so sometimes we really need that reflection back at us, like the 3rd piece of paper from your therapist to make you go, oh, wait, that wasn't normal? I thought that was just life.
Yeah.
That developmental trauma stuff that's a tough one to recognize sometimes. Sometimes it's really apparent. Mm-hmm. We understand, but sometimes it's like the non-physical stuff that insinuates itself, and our bodies, we're just kids and we have to live, and we make up stories and we make up coping strategies because we have to live. So it's survival. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that you're still here because it means that your body figured out ways to survive that situation.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
No.
Yeah.
And
that's not easy. It's really not. I have my days where I'm like, oh yeah, I've got this beat. I'm doing great. And then I don't sleep for 3 days. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should take my meds. Why don't I take my meds? I don't know, because I wasn't allowed to go back to the doctor for more meds when I was younger. Things happen and I am more aware of my mental health than most people, and not in a crazy Karen way. I'm not pushing it down everybody's throat. I'm not trying to get, oh, poor, pitiful me vibes, although some on my podcast might seem like that because I do talk about it a lot, but that's because of the nature of the business. But it's more, I am trying to get my story out there, what happened to me out there, as a way to help others realize, hey, if you look at your parent, either one of them, real step, whatever, and you go, they don't love me. And somebody next to you goes, in their own way they did. No, that's an excuse. Because in her own way, she loved my sister enough that my sister thinks that her childhood was awesome. In her own way, she took medical care of my younger sister who had epilepsy. In her own way, she dealt with different things at different times. But none of that was given to me.
You didn't get what you needed. Point blank. Not get
And
what you
anyone
needed.
who looks at their parent and thinks, even for a second, they didn't love me, they don't respect me, they don't know me. Now, that doesn't get you to turn around and not do anything for the rest of your life because they didn't know you, they didn't love you, whatever. That doesn't give you an excuse to sit down and go, oh, poor pitiful me, I'm not moving anywhere. This is where I get to stay forever. That's not the excuse you want to go for with me because it won't work. I have clawed my way back from the pits of hell, and I have low respect, if not none, for people who just go, I just can't. Now, there's a difference. Don't go all holier than thou, because there is a difference. There's a difference between one day or for a time period, because my time period talking to people with mental health, my crash period was a lot longer than other people's, because mine lasted a good 7 years where I could barely function. So I do understand that if you're in the thick of it and there are still things happening to you, you have to find your why to get out.
Yeah.
Completely understand that.
Yeah. It takes time.
But if you're not currently in the fire, if you have moved adjacent to the fire and just stood there because it's nice and toasty warm, and this is what you have been led and told, this is just who you are, you don't have to change anything. I'm so sorry to tell you that you have been lied to. Because
your body's lying to you. Because that's the other thing about that, like, early childhood stuff, is because this is like what you're used to. So I often ask people, so the adjacent to the fire or even in the fire feels familiar. That's why we end up with a partner that's like our dad, or it's what feels familiar. That doesn't mean it's comfortable, but it's what's familiar. It's the pattern that our body is used to. And so we keep doing it. And you're right. Like, we need a wake up call, and we need the impetus and the help to choose to begin to learn to do it differently.
yes.
And heal the stuff that's in there.
And I am a big proponent, go to therapy, go to whatever you need. I don't care if you go to God, Buddha, or Allah. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Go somewhere.
So many different ways to do it.
Yeah. There is somewhere that will help you. There is something that will help you get from where you are now, if it's bad, to something that could be better. Now, I stepped out of the fire after getting kicked out of the house for the 15th time, this time being at 2:00 in the morning, in basically my pajamas. And I was like, that was my wake-up call. I don't deserve this. Did I truly believe it at that point? Oh, hell no. To be quite honest,
there was enough of you, right?
There was enough of a spark that was like, I need to get out of here. This is killing me. This is literally killing me. And so I moved completely across country, because I went from Washington State to Maryland in 5 days on a Greyhound bus. I'm telling you, I don't do public buses. I was on the phone in tears the entire way, but that's the only way I was getting across the country to somewhere that was even halfway decently safe.
Yeah.
And I lived with my sister for a little over a year, which was not halfway decently safe, because she's the type that if she gets mad at you, she'll kick you out. And I had just come from that. So, like, it was a big drop off, because she wasn't screaming at me all the time. She wasn't picking fights just to pick a fight and watch me light up, because that happens. I have a temper. And if you start yelling at me, I'm more than likely going to start screaming back at you. And then now we're having fun, because the words that come out of my mouth are not fun at that point, because you have triggered something.
I
Can't
say
even
because
identify.
that's a trigger. The trigger in the real sense, right? I talk about how we can look at neural pathways and ways of acting and reacting. Think about the Oregon Trail, right?
The game or the real life thing?
Yes. And just that dangerous. No, the rutted pathways from all of those covered wagons, all of those carts, right? Because as soon as this thing happens, or you smell this thing, or you hear this thing, or you experience this thing, or something happens and your body reacts the same way that it did another time, you are stuck in those ruts. That is a very well-worn neural pathway that you have been doing for a large chunk of your life. For a lot of us, it's several decades before we start to consider another way to do it. And that means that we've been doing it for that many decades. And so finding a new way to do it is really hard, and you can't do it in the moment because of those ruts. You break an axle if you try to get out of those ruts.
Or you die of dysentery too.
Exactly. I don't know about you, but I was always a farmer because at least I could keep the animals alive.
I couldn't keep people alive long enough to be anything like that. I would cross a river and my people died of dysentery. And I was like, what the crap? Why are y'all starving? We left 2 days ago. I bought a lot of food. What happened to it all? I couldn't keep those. You remember the little Tamagotchi pets? I forgot about them after a week. And then when I remembered them, I went back. They were dead. And I felt so bad that I didn't want to play with it no more.
Yep. That sounds about right. Yep.
But it does take a spark, no matter how small, because you can't light a fire. And this time a comfortable fire. And it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not the hell you were just living in. But you're uncomfortable as hell because now's when the paranoia sits in. Is this next person going to act the same way? Is this next thing going to do the same thing?
That's what that survival-based nervous system just scans the horizon for. Like, we talk about hypervigilance as like looking for exits, and we looking for sharp noises. But hypervigilance can also be, there's nobody safe. I don't know, like, everybody is going to treat me the way that my mom treated me, or whatever. That's another trauma pattern all by itself. Yeah, sometimes it takes a spark, sometimes it takes a bazillion sparks, and finally one catches the little bit of tinder.
God, we're going to start talking about fireworks in a second.
No, we don't need to. No Katy Perry here.
That song is everywhere still.
It's a hell of an anthem, but you don't need to go there.
But you have to have enough. Even if it's just that maybe it's not for you. Maybe as you finally see what's happening now to your kid, or now to a family member who's in a similar thing, and you go, no, I have to help them out of it. And then you go, crap, I can't help them from inside that fire. That's not how that works. So then you both move out of it together, and that's a support system built in for you. Yes. If the other person doesn't come back into the fire. There's always that. But for me, I've always been told that I'm too aware of my mental health. I'm too aware because I can click things back. Not a lot of people can go, oh, you know what happened at this time of year, however many years ago? That was that big tea trauma thing that nobody talked about 3 days after it was done.
Yeah.
And nobody acknowledged half of it. I got blamed and we moved out of state within 6 months. And so that all came. And so right at the beginning of the school semester, beginning of school, I start getting that because I'm like, this is when it happened. And so now I feel bad because of everything that happened at that point. We didn't move until March, end of March, just before my birthday. My mom was a wonderful person. We moved like 3 days before my birthday from Massachusetts to Maryland. And I'm like, great. And so life throws things at you. And sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, it is something you can handle. And it's what you need as the starting gun to get you out of the patterns you've been in. I sound like a self-help book. I promise I don't read them. They're very boring.
I started with self-help books because that's also a trauma pattern, right? I have to do this by myself. And so I would read self-help books trying to figure this stuff out. But again, with the trauma happens in relationship with me, which means trauma needs to be healed in relationship. You need to be able to begin to build trust and safety and vulnerability with people because we need each other. That is a biological fact. Not even just
From when my world fell apart in 2010 until I moved back to Maryland, I'm telling you, I had around 100 therapists. Because I was going to those county places that are awful. Please don't go to them unless you absolutely have to.
There's a lot of people
and if you
that
have to, find people you can, if you have to go to those places, find a friend, find somebody who can either go with you or talk to you afterwards, because just going to those places is its own trauma. I hated it. They don't respect your time at all, and it's just awful. But the therapist I kept working with kept moving on to better, greener and better pastures,
of course, because
right?
it sucks for them to
They'd
be there
work
too.
with me. Yeah, so they'd work with me for 3 to 6 months, and then they move on to the next thing. So for years, I was in therapy, but it wasn't working because I was waiting for them to leave.
So you never found,
Even the final
you
lady,
never were able
the
to
final
create
lady,
that sense of trust and safety.
no, the final lady that I had in Washington State had told me the week before I got kicked out that she was only going to be there for another 2 weeks. And I was just like, but you're the one who's been here for 15 freaking years. How do you leave when I'm here? Like, why does this keep happening to me? And it wasn't happening to me, but it felt like that. It was like, it's always, all the bad stuff always happens to me. I was really in that phase of things for a while because everything bad did happen to me. And all these therapists would be like, oh, no, it's not your fault. And then they'd walk away. And I just like, frick, it isn't. Right? Yeah, you can only listen to somebody say something and walk away so many times before that abandonment trauma gets you real hard.
Truly. Yeah, it's hard.
It doesn't help anything. So I hate first appointments with new therapists.
And with that many,
because
you
you
would
kinda
have to
have
do
to-
it all the time.
Yeah. And because, look, just know going to the therapist for the first time is not going to be happy, bubbly, sunshiny roses. It's going to be difficult. Now, am I saying every appointment's going to be difficult? No. I have fun with my therapist now. I've had her for the last 3 years since I've lived in this state.
Congratulations
It's
on
great.
a long-term therapist.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I've had my second therapist who is a friend of a friend, or a sister to my friend, and she's been my friend since 5 years ago when my therapist in Maryland got pregnant and was leaving. I am not the one who is going to be like, oh, you're going to be gone for 6 weeks. I'll go see somebody else for 6 weeks. Because no, I'm not doing the walkthrough. To be able to understand all of this, there's a walkthrough that has to happen, and you're not getting it. And you're not going to get half of it in 6 weeks. Never mind be able to like help in any situation I'm in. So my friend's sister, who is a licensed therapist in her state, started talking with me once a week to make sure that I was staying copacetic while my therapist was out. And my therapist came back for 2 weeks and was like, yeah, I just had a baby. I'm going to go home and be with that baby. I was like, I knew that was going to happen. Oh, why does this happen to me? But we left Maryland too. So it was fine. I just kept talking to my friend. And then I got the bad therapist in Texas for 2 years. But you've just been through so much trauma. Do you know how many times you can hear that before you want to strangle somebody? In one session? Telling you, it got to the point where it was half out of her mouth, and I am so glad it was never in person. Not that she would have been in danger, but like the willpower it would have taken. Just unreal. Don't tell that to people. Just don't. It wasn't helpful. And then I got my therapist here. I've had her the whole time I've been here, and she's awesome. Some days we go in there and we pick apart something stupid just because I'm in a place where I don't want to talk about anything. But just being able to talk about something that isn't my business or my podcast or the little things is helpful.
Do you want to know why?
And so we'll do that one week. Why?
Do you want to know why that's so helpful?
Why?
Because it's continuing to build that bond, and it's co-regulating and social engagement, which just allows your system to feel good for 50 minutes or an hour or whatever. And it could be, you could be digging away at some like sharp places in talking about something that's not your business or your podcast or whatever. But for the most part, like I will absolutely have just friendly conversations with my clients for portions of the hour because again, like we need each other, and that social engagement mechanism of our animal is what tells us that we're safe enough to let down some of that anxiety and some of that stress. And so I love that you have a therapist that does that with you.
Yeah, I am too. Because I've had therapists who are like, you're going off point. Why don't you just talk about this thing? Because if I wander off point enough, I will on my own go, oh, that's what's going on.
Exactly.
But some therapists will try to steer. Look, just because you're my therapist doesn't mean you know everything going on in my head. You don't know what's happened this week. You don't know what happened last year this time or 10 years ago this time. So don't try to curtail. My podcast started because my therapist told me I should write a book, and I thought that would take too much time. I'm an idiot, and now I have a podcast. I could have been done writing that book by now.
Do you enjoy doing this?
Yes. Most days, yes. There have been some conversations that I've tried to have that didn't go exactly as I would have appreciated, but other than that, I've had a lot of good conversations.
I love it.
And my therapist thinks it's hilarious when I go in there. I'm like, do people not know how to have a conversation anymore?
Yes.
She's like, what happened?
The
And
answer is yes.
and I was just like, this person came on my podcast and all they did was stare at the camera and make me ask them questions. And I don't like it when that happens. And she'll just laugh at me. You're fine. You'll get through it. You always do. I know, but I have to complain about it afterward. It's fine.
That's another thing that we have to do too. Like it's processing. I have this story that I tell to clients. I can tell it to you if you want. I don't have to, but it's just like this, it's a tangible like image that you can hold in your hand of the activation cycle, and it helps us understand what it takes to get to the end when things go wonky. And it could be a little teeny tiny wonky, like getting cut off in traffic, or it could be a big T trauma.
It could also be the fact that I'm 5'6", okay? I am not a short person. You can't tell. I'm not exactly a stick figure, right? Not lying. I am losing weight, but obviously I'm never going to be a stick figure. It's not my body type. Never have been. I have this thing called thighs. It's fine, okay? It's fine. But I will be walking in a grocery store and people will run into me with their carts. I have been run into so many times by people with carts that I am more hyper aware and hyper vigilant inside a Walmart than I am at any other time of the day or in any other place. And it's just like, why do you not like it? It doesn't help with that nobody can see me vibe that I feel like I give off because, dude, you literally just ran into me.
Yeah.
I am not tiny. You should have seen me. Like,
It's not about your size. It's not about your size.
probably not, but still, it's one of those things where if you'd have been paying any kind of attention, you'd have seen. And because they don't pay attention, my mind goes automatically to, I'm a freaking bull in a china shop. What the crap is wrong? And so people get road rage on the road, and I will be like, why are you stopping? Don't stop like that. Keep going. And I'm in the passenger seat, and my friend will be like, Nikki. I'm like, what? It's fine. You can't hear me. I'm not like actually yelling most of the time. Sometimes I do because I'm terrified that the people behind me are going to hit us.
Well, yeah.
But mostly it's in Walmart. I get the road rage because it's like, I'm walking here. Get the crap away from me. And
Yeah,
it
I
seems
get that.
unhinged if you're only seeing me for those 2 seconds in the Walmart being like, "Arr." But I've also already been hit 3 times, even with this hypervigilance stance. So there's a reason for it.
Yeah. That's fascinating. That's the kind of stuff that I would love to dig into. Not going to, but I would love to dig into that kind of stuff because, okay, so you were the child, you were the second oldest that was invisible and
Mhm.
just got the crap. And so you've carried that through your life because that's the position you were given and you figured out how to be good at it. And so you still are in some way, shape, or form. You're
Probably.
you're good at being invisible.
Yeah. Until I spaz out and everybody's going, she's crazy. And I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. I have the alphabet to prove it. Get away from me. I am, at this point, like when I first started figuring out that I probably had something wrong with me, which was well before I ever got care. Don't recommend doing that at all. Just saying, if you need help, go get help. But I had my reasons. I had been told things and I believed them to my core. And so I didn't go get any help. And it just made life awful. But you have to, if you want your life to be better tomorrow, you have to do something today. And eventually, like all the little split points that I've seen in my life have always come at that T in the intersection, right? Where if I go to the left, it's always going to be as bad as it's always been. Or it's going to be worse than it's ever been because now I'm putting myself in a new situation that's going to be just as bad, if not worse, than what I've already been dealing with.
Yep.
Or if I go to the right, things could be a smidgen better. Or I get that little funky thing that nobody knows what the sign actually means, where it looks like you're heading to the right because it's the right choice, and somehow you flood back into that left space somehow, and so you've got this little weird circly wonky thing looking.
Uh-huh.
Like not a roundabout, but like
Yeah,
a thing.
you go around the speed bump or whatever.
And you're just like, okay, I don't know how I ended up over here. I was going over there for a better time, and now I'm here with a worser time.
It's the wagon ruts.
Yeah.
It just pulls you back. So that, I call it a choice point. You were
Mhm.
calling it something else.
Crossroads.
Crossroads. I call it a choice point. And that the other thing that you said was do something today so that you'll do something different tomorrow. And if you've got these deeply rutted roads, when under stress, you're going to have a hell of a time picking something different. So when you're actually okay, you need to start making a path that's different. And first it's like a game trail, and then it's like a walking path, and then you finally got like a clear, nice path to go down. And by that time, when stress happens, you might be able to pick that path. But you have to do that today. You have to start figuring out how to do that today so that you've got a new neural pathway, a new strategy, a new way of doing it. I ran a group on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, and it was just a free group that I run every month. And people ask all the time, how do I get through tomorrow? And my
Like
answer
getting through
is,
today.
yeah, my answer is hey, you're this age. You'll get through tomorrow. I can't give you any tools right now that you'll remember to use tomorrow. Period. Full stop. It won't be there. But if I can give you some tools so that you feel a little bit better going into tomorrow, and sometimes that makes tomorrow better. But to do stuff today and today and today, and then when the big thing happens, when the Christmas happens or the Thanksgiving happens or the big T trauma happens, you might be able to do something different.
In Washington State, you had to have a reason for going to therapy, which I found very odd.
Oh, in order
Because,
for
like,
it to get covered by insurance.
Not even insurance, it's the county thing. So, like, I didn't have insurance, I had this other thing or whatever. I don't know. But it's like you had to have a goal. My goal has always been to just be better this week than I was last week, or better today than I was yesterday type deal. Because one foot in front of the other some days is all I can think about. That stupid song will get stuck in my head. You remember the like claymation Christmas thing with the freaking, what was that? Frosty? He's an ugly dude in that movie.
Yeah. See, I just pictured Dory and I go, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
I don't get that one. Probably because it annoyed the crap out of me after about 3 seconds. But it was the whole
That's
song.
The problem. It is incredibly annoying to keep going. But you have
the whole song, and you put one step in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking out the door. And so it's just do that. Just walk out that door and figure it out tomorrow. Even if that door is the bathroom door. Like, some days that's all it is. Really. But I was given tools because they were like, do you want to do a goal or do you want to learn a tool? And I was like, I don't want to have to pick a goal. I don't want to have to pick anything. So let's go with tools. And I want you to teach me tools to not be this anxious, to not be this depressed, to not be this anymore. And they were like, we'll try. And so, like, the one gave me the cherry pickers, right? You do the, when you're anxious, and it actually, all it does is tell my friend that my anxiety's gone up. And so if she can help me out of a situation, she will.
Well,
all
hey,
it gave me.
That's helpful.
Super helpful. The other one, I have this little sign here because I still don't remember it all the time. It's the 5 grounding techniques. Right? Except I don't do 5 things I can see. I don't do 4 things I can feel. 3 I can hear. 2 I can smell. 1 I can taste, right? Because I'm only ever, if I'm in the same room, there's not going to be a whole lot of taste unless it's Thanksgiving Day and somebody's cooking a big meal, right? There's going to be 1 taste. And if I use up 5 things that I can see on the first run through, how am I going to do it again? Like, I'm not doing a seek and find just to see something. Like, this is not a, what are they called? Where you go and find the different things on a list. Wow, my words are so...
On a list or like a word search?
Not a word search, a list. Go to the library and get 1 book that has this topic. Go to those things. I can't remember what they're called. But I'm not doing that just so that I can find 5 things I can see and keep going through that list so that my body can calm down. Because I get you, look, 100% of the time, you are not calming down the first time through this list. 100% of the time. I don't care how many times you've done this list. It's not happening. And if you go through every single thing in your room you can see the first 2 times you are going down the list, how are you going to keep going? So I do it differently than everybody else because I have to be different because I'm contrary like that. I do 1 thing I can see, 1 thing I can feel, 1 thing I can hear. If I can smell something that is too strong, I know to move because I have asthma that's triggered by scent. So I know I have to get out of there if it's not a good smell, like food cooking. If it's mechanical flowers, I know to GTFO because my asthma will kick in and I'm really not going to have a fun time. And then the 1 thing I can taste. And then after the first time, I don't even bother with taste because who's going to sit there and go, okay, I tasted blueberries the last time, but I think it's grapes this time. Not happening. There's only going to be 1 flavor of the air. And that's even if you're one of those people who can flavor the air with your tongue. I'm one of those people, if it's strong enough to smell, it's strong enough to taste, and don't get me started on the things that are very not cool with that sense of thing happening, okay? So bad. But I do go through into the one thing I can see, one thing I can feel, one thing I can hear. And with my super hearing, I can hear a lot more than some people think you should be able to, which is not a good thing. But I keep going down the list. I keep doing that over and over. I keep looking. I keep grounding myself in the room I'm in. It's not what is outside right now, leaves on the ground. No, that's not how that works. You have to physically see it. So unless I'm looking out the window between my two monitors, I'm not seeing the grass. I'm not touching grass. I'm allergic to the stuff. Please don't tell me to go touch grass. I have a very fun body that is totally messed up by all the things that have been done to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's plenty of things you can see. But if you run through it the first time and you go, crap, I'm still having a panic attack. No, crap. Duh. You're going to. How about breathe? Take that deep breathing that you learned in either chorus or trauma therapy, one of the two, because you know you're going to learn it, and breathe with your diaphragm and take that deep breath and calm yourself down a couple times. Do the breathing and then go, okay, what's another thing I can see? What's another thing I can feel? What's another thing? Feel your shirt. Your shirt feels different than your pants do. Now, I'm not saying grope yourself.
I really like feeling my bones, like whether it's like pressing on my collarbones or my kneecaps or like pushing on my forearms or my legs. It's like contacting my bones gives me like immediate solidity. Like it brings me back a little bit. I'm not saying that it catches everything, but that's one of the things that I really like.
My hair is poofy because 99% of the time it is up in 2 French braids. It's a little too fuzzy today for me to keep it up while recording, so I have it down, which is unfortunately making me very hot because it is a wool blanket that goes most of the way down my back. But if you noticed, the wind is catching it. And so I will, if my hair is down, I'm constantly pulling at it, tugging it, not hard enough to pull my hair out because none of that is happening. Although I feel like it sometimes. But I do not pull my hair out. It's a thing. But tugging on it, making that little bite. Not pain, it's just a bite. I don't know how to explain it. Or if the braids are in, I tug on the braid itself. Again, that little bite will
relocate
you back into
your body.
Breathe. That thing that everybody tells you you're supposed to do.
And that's the thing. We dissociate to some degree, right? We drift away from our body when things are tough because it's horrible in our body. We need these like reminders to go back and find places that are okay. And sometimes that tug, that little bite is okay.
My best friend in high school was around when my asthma appeared, like the second coming of Satan. And I was having an asthma attack around her one day, and she just looked at me and went, breathe, breathe. And I died laughing because it was absolutely the most hysterical thing I'd ever heard. And I was finally able to catch my breath again. And so now when I disassociate real hard, all I hear is her voice in my head going, breathe, breathe. So it snaps my focus back. I don't think she remembers ever saying it. And if she does, I don't think she realizes that I still remember that she said it. But it was just one of those, I am very sound oriented, right? So her saying that is a thing that reminds me, hey, there's this thing you're supposed to be doing. And it's awfully hilarious when you don't do it and somebody has to remind you. But also, I have music going all the time. If I'm working and everybody's, oh no, you can't focus on 2 things at the same time. And I'm going, do not put your cage around me. I will be singing to my music. I will have somebody talking in my ear from YouTube. And then I'll be typing away doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Only every once in a while does something I'm saying out loud for a song end up in whatever I'm typing. Not all the time, just once in a while. But I can triple focus. I don't know why you can't double focus. I don't know why you don't have that ability. But unless I'm trying to read something and you want me to talk at the same time, That's going to take a second. Otherwise, I can sing, hear somebody talking, and be doing something, and it doesn't bother me. But if I have to come up with an original thought, I can't be singing at the same time. I'm a weird juxtaposition because when I work, it is original thought, but the music helps it go. But if I'm talking like me and you, that wouldn't be a good thing because I'd be like, wait, what? I didn't hear anything you just said. And don't catch me reading. Don't catch me reading. Because if you don't say my name first.
Same.
If you don't say.
I don't hear you at all.
I've gotten into knockdown, drag out, absolutely not good fights with people because I wasn't paying attention to them when they talked. How many times do I have to tell you if I am reading, say my name first? But instead, 10 minutes into your rant, you finally say my name and I look up at you and realize that you are completely losing your crap about something I have no idea about.
That sounds familiar, Nikki.
And I'm just sitting there. I don't know what to tell you. I told you if I'm reading, say my name first and not 10 minutes into your rant. Yeah, good luck. But yeah, that's not exactly the attitude you want to have with some people either. But I'm in a good spot now. I have a friend who I live with, her and her husband, and she is calmness personified. I get to be calmer. I've been around so much chaos and trauma my entire life. The lights were always getting turned off because my mom liked to play bingo and she lost a lot. And things like that. We were constantly moving, even if we were in the same state. I have been to or lived in every state in the U.S. except for Alaska and Hawaii. Military brat for the win. And yes, I have moved to different places with them because I started living with them back in Maryland, and now we've been to Texas and Arkansas. So it happens. We still move. I do care, mostly because that fear of abandonment comes up around cars, because I had fun parents. And so once we figured that out, we were fine. She now doesn't move the car if we're at a gas station and I go inside.
That's helpful. That's helpful.
Because the first time she did that and she saw how bad I panicked because I was like, I don't even know what state I'm in. Never mind how I'm supposed to start all over again. But here we go. And like she saw how bad that I freaked out that she won't do that to me anymore. Or if she does, she moves close enough to the door that as soon as my eyes go to where she's supposed to be and I don't see her, she's already yelling from the car that I'm right here. And I would protect her with my life because she has done so much for mine, right? She's my person, and I don't know how to like get that across to normal people.
She is the person who's helped you feel safe enough to actually begin to heal. We need that safety in order to just begin to be able to do something different. We can fight and fight to try to do different and to try to heal. But if we don't feel safe in our body, we can still do stuff.
Yeah, sometimes she'll be like, why didn't you eat? I don't know. Nikki, you have to eat. I'm like, but yeah, I got busy. She just gives me the look, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'll make sure I do it next time. My bad. So
I'm really lucky to have found that.
I wish everybody could find their person that would help with their mental health. We don't always find that, and that leaves a lot of people suffering. And I don't like it for anybody. But I also know how bad off
across the country. Yeah, we have to talk on the phone.
Yeah. And I know how bad it is. Like, people hear the BPD part of my mental health and they're like, oh, she's just your crutch. No, she's not. Because with her, I've healed much more and much faster than I would have alone. Especially because...
nervous system thing. That's a scientific nervous system thing.
Especially because if I was on my own, I wouldn't be able to do this. I would have to have a regular job. And I didn't do good at those.
Yeah. A lot of us don't.
Because when I get frustrated, I start yelling. Or I do this stupid wuss thing and I cry. I'm not even upset like that. I'm not hurt. I'm freaking angry. And all I can do is blubber. And it pisses me off even more, which helps nothing. I have my days, I'm telling you, where nothing is nothing.
Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with us. Before we dive into our next topic, I just want to take a quick moment to remind you to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way, you'll always be the first to know when a new episode drops. And we want to hear from you. What topics are you most excited about? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your feedback helps us create content that you love. We've got some exciting stuff coming your way, so don't miss out. Now, let's switch gears and jump into our next discussion.
We are going to talk about not leaving your body behind just because you own a business or you are put in a corporate cog or whatever. Because we get into a job or we get into our own business and we're like, if I just stay up for the next 48 hours, it'll be fine. I don't have any problems doing that at all. It'll be fine. I'll just do that. I won't take my sleeping pill. I'll just stay up 48 hours and I'll beat my goal or my target or my whatever.
And then what happens?
Then you sleep for a very long time.
And you don't get to follow through on any of it. And you don't supply your people with the right anything.
So all that does is lead to burnout because now you're putting in unrealistic expectations to either yourself or your employer. Because look, you're the one who gets things done early. Why would we give you extra time? So that goal that used to be 8 weeks is now 6. And you only got it done a week early before by not sleeping for an entire 5 days. Not healthy, by the way. You do start to get delirious at that point. But you could do it. It wasn't too bad. You slept for 48 hours afterwards, but you know, the price of doing business on time for people. Because especially if you were born in a military household or military adjacent household, because by the time my stepdad retired, it was still a thing in our house. If you're not 10 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late. So that leaves the whole, if this deadline, that's the word I keep trying to use, it could find, there it goes. If this deadline is on the 25th, then I should turn it in on the 20th to be on time. Now, the freaking 25th is the 25th for a reason. And when you ignore your body, like I said, I am a super high, not functioning insomniac. Meaning, if I am not drugged into the ground, I do not sleep. Very easily, don't take my sleeping pill, and I'm awake. Is it healthy? Absolutely not. Have I done it? Absolutely. Some days it's because I don't know. Some days it's because I feel like I have to get something done before I can stop. And that means I'm up until 4 a.m. And why take a sleeping pill at 4 a.m. when you have to be up at 9 a.m.?
Exactly. So I don't have a problem sleeping, but I do push my body way beyond its limits. My work for most of my life, like I said, I worked with animals, which means that my work has always been really physical instead of sitting at a desk or something like that. And so I just push my body well beyond its physical limits. And for whatever reason, I haven't been injured doing that very much or very badly. But it leads to the same stupid thing. I've disobeyed my body. I didn't eat or I didn't drink enough or I pushed the fatigue or the endurance or muscle or whatever to the degree that and for too long, right? So whether it's sleeping 48 hours or whether it's ending up spending a year and a half on my couch because I couldn't move
Mhm.
anymore.
So my flavor of autoimmune leads toward 3 different types of arthritis, one of which I got when I was 16. Because you know what? Psoriasis sucks, but it sucks even more when you get it at 5 instead of in your late teens to 60s. I would have loved to have gotten it when I was 60. Hell yeah, give it to me then. I'm old and crusty. Give me the damn thing. But no, I had to get it when I was 5 in the 80s when nobody knew what it was. So there's all that stuff. Usually if you're going to get arthritis from psoriasis, you either get it right at the same time as the psoriasis or you get it 11 years after. I got it 11 years after, so I got it when I was 16. And my joints just started swelling to 7 times the size that they're supposed to be and being extremely sensitive to be walking on it, limping all over the place. And after the school noticed, my mom had to take me to a doctor. And that's when I got that diagnosis. Because I didn't have Lyme's disease. So that was the only other explanation for what was happening to me.
I had that when I was 12.
No, not me.
No.
I don't go outside enough because of the whole allergic to grass thing.
Yeah, that would be a thing. That would be a thing.
When I was a kid, right up until we moved when I was 11, I was outside a lot. And I wondered why I couldn't breathe half the time. And I'd be like tears rolling down my face and stuff. Yeah, that is called somebody mowing their lawn while I'm outside.
So you are an indoor pet.
Yes, very much. So when I first met Kim and I was over at her house, she was like, while you're doing your thing, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to do the yard. And I was like, I can help. She's like, have you ever done it before? I was like, no, but I can help. Dude, Maryland has the grass that I'm 100% allergic to. Texas, I was like 80% allergic to.
So we're going back to that breathe, bitch, breathe thing.
Yeah. So I had headphones on because, of course, the sound of the lawnmower was too much for my ears. So I had headphones on screaming music because I can listen to my own music at a level that is unconscionable for most people, but it's just fine for me. But I can't listen to the sound of the lawnmower going or I will get irate. So there you go. So I'm doing the lawn and I'm like, you know what? It's getting awfully hard to breathe. What's wrong? I'm an idiot, okay? Just know that. There are days when I don't think. I took those headphones off and I breathed in and went, oh, yeah, that's bad. And so I go inside. I go inside trying to find my inhaler because I am beyond the point of coughing, which is what my asthma comes out with at first. Once I move into wheezing, which I was doing very loudly, it's bad. I couldn't find my inhaler. Kim was in the backyard with the edger thingy. And it took me a minute to catch her attention. And then she heard me because I was up 2 stories on a porch, which I was not comfortable with. And she was on the ground and she went, what did you do? And I'm like, breathe? I don't know. And she came upstairs and she looked at me. She said, you need to go to the hospital. I'm like, no, but I do need my inhaler. Of course, that was not that loud. Like, it was a breathy little whisper type thing. And then I used my inhaler about 10 times and I passed out because me and albuterol don't get along. My body is my body. And she was, when I woke up hours later, she was like, why didn't you tell me that would happen? I was like, because I didn't know. Really? I didn't know what was creating the problem until I decided to mow a lawn. And I was like, oh, I better never go into lawn care. Die or something. So,
isn't it wild how we can figure out what we need to not do? Whether, like, you have a bunch of diagnoses, right? You've got a bunch of actual diagnoses, but it doesn't take actual diagnoses if we pay attention to our body is going to tell us what is okay and what is not okay. And a lot of us were taught not to listen to our bodies. Period. Full stop.
faking it.
We were born as a feral little child, which children aren't like completely in tune with their bodies. They don't know what it means, but they're completely in tune with what's happening. And then we are taught that we need to push through everything. Like whether it's sitting in kindergarten and you have to go to the bathroom and they're like, wait for 20 minutes because we're almost done. Or you don't get to stand up and move around or whatever it is. So it's drilled into us to not to just ignore our bodies. And it's the same, like it goes all the way through our lives into when we are working for somebody else or whether we're owning our own business, is if we can just ignore our bodies long enough, then we can make good in our business. And that is, sure, it works. Like for a while, and then we're left with this body that doesn't work anymore.
I don't think mine came installed with the function to work.
That's fair. That's fair.
I have, obviously, I can't see without glasses, except I was raised a military brat. So the military hospital got a hold of me when I was high stepping as a 2-year-old. They didn't figure out what was wrong with me until I went to start kindergarten and the eye test failed. Because duh. But yeah, I had spinal taps and everything else because they couldn't figure out why I was high stepping and they didn't even think to check my eyeballs. Great. But when you are growing your company, when you are trying to get the next promotion at work, you end up deregulating yourself. You use your body as a tool for your business or for your next promotion instead of as the well-oiled machine you're supposed to have, if you're not my body, apparently. But you end up burnout. You end up, sleep is not a thing. Even if sleep used to be easy, now it's not. Constant urgency. I have to go. You become the rabbit in
Alice in Wonderland.
I'm late for a very important date. You have emotional numbing. When was the last time you cried? And not from that Sarah McLachlan video song that is everywhere with the puppies. Jesus, we need to take that off the airwaves. Come on.
It works, which is why they still use it.
You have, do not like your job. Now, some people just don't like their job. But if you used to like your job and now it's, I don't want to have to call this person. I don't want to have to call that person. Why do I have to call this person? Why do I have to work on this project? It's because your body is starting to say, I've had the frick enough. We're not doing this anymore.
But there's ways to do it.
There are.
There's ways to do it. So I would even push back and say, not treating your body as a well-oiled machine, but treating your whole self as the animal that it is. That instead of a meat robot for the prefrontal cortex, as if that's the only thing in all of us that matters. Gut instincts are real. We have neurons in our gut that mimic the same thing as our brains. And in our heads too, right? We have in our hearts too. We've got a head brain, a heart brain, and a gut brain. And that's real, like scientifically real. And if we honor the fact that we are a whole person and not just a brain to make money for somebody else or ourselves, then we can, you were saying that pushing your body can make you dysregulated. And that's accurate. If you can do all of this in a regulated way within the capacity that your body has, no matter what your capacity is, you're talking about how your body doesn't work that great. If you work within what your body can do, it's probably amazing what you can do. But as soon as you pop out and start pushing your body to do more than it can, then it's going to start short circuiting. Now, I just mixed my metaphors by saying it's not, excuse me, one and all, excuse me for mixing my metaphors, but it's going to start not working properly. We have to treat ourselves with love and respect, even though the outer world doesn't. Corporate doesn't treat you with love and respect, but you won't make it to retirement age. You won't make it until you can find another job if you don't treat yourself, your whole self, with respect, like it actually is doing something for you. Because so many of us go around hating our body and then punishing ourselves, punishing our body as if that's not the vehicle for our brains to function. It doesn't work like that. We have to stay within our regulation space, our capacity, our bandwidth, right? We have to do that. And then miraculously, if we stay within our capacity grows. But if you're constantly going into overwhelm and dysregulation, then there's nowhere to grow from. It usually just gets smaller. Your actual capacity just gets smaller.
So one of the things I had to learn as I came out of my fog and actually started doing my business, because it was how I knew I could function, right? I can function if I work for myself. Not too good at functioning. Look, super hearing doesn't work well in cubicles. It doesn't work well being in Walmart 24/7 because you're I was Photoshop for a year and a half, right? I was in the photo lab way back when it was actually a photo lab, not what it is now.
Yeah, I worked at Walgreens.
And I knew that if I could get my situation where I needed it to be, that meant that I could listen to my music, that I listened to the people talking, that I could do the work I needed to do within my own set time frame, except for, hey, I need this done today with some video editing because I get paid enough to do that. Then we do that. And it's minor editing at that. But
what works?
And I have said
at
it,
this point.
but it took years to get here. Look, I didn't start working my own business 6 months ago. I started my business. Look, I came back into my brain in 2017 at the end of it. By April of 2018, I was like, okay, I can't just sit around anymore. I have to do something because I have to do. If I'm not doing, I'm going to backslide. It's one of those situations where if you know you're in an easy class, you shoot yourself in the foot and fail because you didn't do anything you were supposed to because it was too easy. Yeah, don't put me in that situation. So I started with little things because I knew what I used to get overwhelmed by. Oh, this person I worked with, this guy that helped me through a lot of my mental health, like stubbornly. Here, do this for me. I will make sure you have a phone type deal. He would give me these little things to do that now I can do them in about 15 minutes. Go to my Google Calendar and give me a list of all the people I've seen this year. Great, can do that. Not a problem. Doesn't take very long. But back when I first was doing it in that mental health fog, it took me months to try to pull that list together because first of all, I couldn't really think of this stupid easy way to do it. And second, because going in to do it was just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
But once I got my brain back, the first thing I did was like, oh, he asked me for that a year ago. I should probably do that so that he has that list finally. And I went in and I did it in an hour. Now I can do it in 15 minutes. Like, I didn't change day one of my business.
No.
I didn't change day one of getting my brain back took months out of the constant stress I was in. And then I was able to breathe. Like I said, it's that necessary thing we all have to do. And once I could breathe, it was a matter of going, okay, now I'm breathing. What else can I do? I could do this, or I could do that. Or today I can't do anything because I've done too much yesterday. And it's finding that balance. Whether it is your business, the next promotion you want, it's finding a balance so that you grow yourself instead of strain yourself. So you look at it like, today I can get this report to you in a week. But maybe after you've been doing it for 6 months, you go, you know what? Why didn't I think of this sooner? If I just do this and this, I can get this done in 3 hours. And it's the same report with the same information. You just figured out the stupid way to do it. The stupid easy. So easy Forrest could do it. And then you have to lower your expectations because Forrest could do a lot less than you thought. But you have to give yourself boundaries to work in, especially when you're starting. Or if you're coming back from burnout, You don't go, oh, I just spent a year and a half on the couch, so I'm going to go back to doing exactly what I just got done recovering from.
Yeah.
At the exact same speed. You
No.
might the first time. But you're not going to do it a second time because you're going to go, that was stupid. My bad.
Yep.
Forrest Gump didn't do that. I did. My bad. And you fix it. Right? And so you learn. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do stupid things that a year from now you're going to look back on and go, why? Why did I do that? Why did I think that was smart? Because now you have that experience of a year.
Exactly.
You have worked on your mental health. You have worked on your business. You have learned the stupid cheat codes. Remember all those video games we used to play that were impossible until you found out the cheat codes that made it super duper easy? Like the Sims cheat code for extra money. So you didn't have to live poor anymore.
And that's the thing. Doing what's within your capacity and no more is the cheat code. Because one of the things that you said a while ago, but you were talking about, I want to be better this week than I was last week. I want to be better today than I was yesterday. I want to be better in a month. I want to be better in a year. For the most part, we don't actually grow like that. We don't grow in a nice smooth arc. We go up and down and up and down and up and down, but we might actually be going up all told.
Look at the stock market.
If you work within your capacity all the time, you might dip, but you will grow more steadily than if you go at everything from overwhelm or dysregulation or going outside of your capacity. It's just not an efficient way to do things unless you have a whole bunch of more use. I think that's probably the corporate or the generalized capitalist kind of way of considering things is there's always another person to take the place. So we can treat that as a robot and not a living being.
Just remember, before your obituary goes out, your job replacement ad will go out. So if you are in a corporate job or you are working for Walmart, just know that if you're working for Walmart or any other retail place, the ad for your job is already out there waiting for something to happen. They are waiting to fill it on somebody leaving because they are people mills. Everybody's worried about puppy mills. Worry about the people mills because retail places go through people at an alarming rate.
Because they don't care. And they don't have to care because there's more people. There's always more people. We have to care about ourselves and our friends, right? You have a friend that cares for you deeply, and then you can care for each other. That's why we need each other. If we are, again, it's a trauma response to feel like we're completely alone in this world and we have to do everything completely by ourselves. But it is a biological imperative that we work in communities, in groups of humans, and we take care of each other. Ancient 20,000, 30,000-year-old bones of an elderly human that had broken and repaired and healed bones. That person didn't do that by being alone. They did that by being part of a tribe, part of a community, part of a village, part of a group. And that's how you are doing okay now because you're part of a group. You live with people. We are not okay alone. And Walmart or retail, whatever, corporate America turns us into little lone wolves. They play us off of each other and they play on the trauma of independence above all else and doing things by ourselves. And it just leads to, I don't even want to, toxic is a big buzzword, right? But it is dangerous for health. And I think that's why we end up where we do. And then we don't get help because we've been taught that we have to go it alone.
I was always told I was faking it.
Same. I started going to doctors when I was 13 for all of my aches and pains. And I was literally told by establishment people that it's in your head. There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. I went to my knees in a grocery store. My mom said I was faking it for attention. I'm so sorry to inform you of this, but I don't want that kind of attention. Never did. That was what's
Just a
called a cyst
commentary
bursting.
It's a commentary on what they would do if they weren't getting attention.
Actually, this thing that I'm looking at actually says to share 2 to 3 simple somatic reset founders can use before big decisions.
Let's see. Do you want to do something with me?
Sure.
Okay. So if you just sit in your chair and feel the chair underneath you, do you feel it with your butt or your legs? Do you feel it with your back? Are you against the chair? You don't have to keep talking. We're just going to feel it. And feel, do you have the floor underneath your feet? And then notice that can you feel that the chair is supporting you? The chair and the floor are supporting you. And that's gravity. So the earth has you. Like it's just cradling you. It's got you. It's not going to let you go. So just noticing.
Unless the chair has a default.
No, and then you'll fall. You won't
Yeah.
go flying up to the ceiling, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you will only ever go down and have a
Thanks.
place to rest. It might not actually be comfortable, but you're right. Okay. And then so where you are sitting in your chair, look around at your space. And I always say your space instead of your room because I always have windows around because I love the outdoors. So I have to be able to look out the windows. And I work virtually almost exclusively at the moment, although I'm opening my practice to in person. But my space includes your space with the really cool curtain with the books on it, the bookcase on it, right? And so if you just look around your space, it's your space, right? Nikki, it's your space. You're aware of this space. Now, I want you to do it twice as slow. Look around your space at like half speed. And I want you to look for the things that you like in your space. What do you like in your space, or what makes you feel good to look at? I have peacock feathers behind me and in front of me, and they're beautiful. Peacock feathers are beautiful. And I worked at a zoo, so I knew the birds that molted these feathers. I don't know which bird it was, but so there's memories and objective beauty or aesthetic beauty and shininess because I also have a light on them so that they're pretty for me. And then pause a second when you find something that you like looking at. Pause a second and ask your body, how can I tell that I like looking at that? I'm really focused. But it's not like it's a, oh my God, that's really cool. And the turquoise and the brown and the gold, and it's really cool. And like all of my senses are focused on it. Okay. How else can I tell? I'm a little bit more relaxed in my chair. Aside from the fact that I'm babbling right now, I'm breathing calmly. Like my breath is calm. And in my case, right, walking you through this exercise, this is my happy place, right? So not only am I looking at something that's beautiful and holds memories for me, and so it feels good to look at the feathers, but also I feel confident and comfortable, and this is totally within my capacity. And that's translating in my body as not only am I settled in my chair and my breathing is okay, but I'm feeling like upright and I'm feeling like my energy, even though the ground has got me from gravity, like my energy is like straight up and down. I'm not like in on the screen and I'm not like leaning into you. I'm like, I love the way that my body feels right now. That's a big indicator right now. If you're looking at something that you love, and if you stay there for long enough, sometimes you're like, whew, hey, I like the way this feels. And that could be enough. So just noticing a way to make contact with the outside and then bring it in. And then feel your seat underneath you again and see if it's any different. I like to ask, do you feel like you're in your chair or on your chair?
Who says they feel in their chair?
Ah, that's interesting.
I am on my chair. Oh my God, my butt hurt at this point.
Huh?
I'm sitting here too long.
Sometimes there's a switch and all of a sudden you feel like you're in your chair.
Okay, all that does is give me those weird vibes of the chairs that used to talk. I'm like being stuck inside one of them. No, thank you. I'm good. I don't ever feel like I'm inside the chair. That's creepy as never mind. I'm
And
good.
you never have to.
So for me, when I think of the somatic practices, it is, so you know that picture that makes its way around online every once in a while? Drop your shoulders, take your tongue off the top of your mouth, relax your jaw. The one we all roll our eyes at because screw you for pointing that out to me for the 15th time today.
Well, I mean,
Like-
just the list that you went through earlier is a somatic practice of opening all your senses and on purpose, mindfully noticing stuff from with all of your senses and holding them all. And once you've got all that crap that you're holding, things you hear, things you taste, things you smell, things you feel, at some point there's like a critical mass and you can't have crazy thoughts anymore because you're thinking about what you're feeling.
Yeah. Number one thing, if you see somebody who's upset or you feel needs to calm down, shut up. Don't tell anybody to calm down.
You don't think you should tell somebody to calm down?
No, I don't. I really feel like that will get you a Hulk Hogan punch in the face. I don't know Hulk
Or
Hogan,
they'll
but,
just
like,
completely shut down and stop trusting you completely.
yes, exactly. That's just a bad idea. Don't tell people to calm down. Bad idea. I'm going to be like, breathe. Breathe for me for just a second. Got it? Good. Now, what's wrong? We'll figure it out from there. But don't tell somebody to calm down. It's not going to go well. You might get hurt. Not everybody who's freaking out and throws a chair at you is actually thinking about throwing the chair. They just want whatever voice that was to shut up. So, no, I've never thrown chairs at anybody. I'm not saying that, and do not recommend doing that either because that is assault and you could go to jail. Or is that battery? I always get them confused. I don't know.
I try to stay as far away from doing things that would get me charged with anything that I don't keep track of what the charges might be.
Look, if it confuses me, I'm not going to do either. Stay away from it. No, I do tend to be a bit verbal because I wasn't always allowed to be. And now my mouth does its own freaking thing. Even when I don't want it to, that the trauma dumps that happen sometimes are just like, I didn't mean to go that hard. I'm so sorry. But so it does make it a point to say that to name the cultural myth. So what are you believing right now that is actually the stupidest thing you've ever heard if you put it in context of anybody else feeling that way? Okay? So if you
the story
think
I am telling myself is,
yeah, if you think if you're not exhausted, you're not serious, please realize that is a myth. You can be serious without trying to put yourself in the hospital from exhaustion. That's just not the look we're going for in 2026.
it is not.
I hope.
Serves other people, but not you. It serves other people for you to be exhausted, but it never serves you to be exhausted.
Don't get me wrong, there are days when I'm exhausted, but it has nothing to do with my business and everything to do with the fact that I am an incurable insomniac. I go to sleep awake and I wake up tired. Figure that one out and we'll all make money.
Yeah, I've worked with a bunch of people that have insomnia. It's a hard one. It's just hard.
I go to sleep after taking a sleeping pill and waiting for at least an hour for it to kick in. And I'm awake the entire time until I'm out. And then waking up takes 3 business days. And then people are like, why don't you like to work until 10 a.m.? I don't know, Joe. Do you really want to get yelled at? because I don't want to yell at you, and I will if you wake me up too early to be on some stupid video call that could have been an email. Do not get me started. So the last thing it says is to invite a new metric. So instead of success equaling growth, you can have the success where you're at. I am doing better today than I was a year ago. Sometimes somebody will say something to me and I'll go, okay, I'm not mad. I would have been a couple months ago. I'd have torn you to pieces. But today I'm good. I don't believe what you're saying, and I'm going to keep going. And that's when you notice it. Dude, you are not going to notice it the first 100 times you do it.
Notice
with your mental health or with your business. You're not going to notice it until a situation comes up when somebody goes, I've just been exhausted lately. And you go, I'm not. Cool. How long has that been happening?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, cool. I've been taking my meds. I'm awesome. Don't get too stuck on that, though, because that's a slippery slope. But keep taking those meds. Reframe it. So one of my second podcasts I did with a friend who is a brilliant coach. Love her to death. But one of the things we talked about was networking, because she is great at networking, and I don't like people half the time, 90% of the time. And I don't usually like networking because I don't want to know how you grew a chia pet. Why are you at a business meeting if you don't have a business? Can we talk about that, please? But when we realize where we are, either by somebody else saying something or just by going, hey, you know what? My neck doesn't hurt like it usually does. I must not have been doing the Hunchback of Notre Dame thing. And so we go, oh, yeah, the chiropractor is really helping with that. You take small ones at first. When I first started working, the first time that guy went, you know what? You're doing so much better lately. I went, what are you talking about? No. What? And I was just like, oh, so this is what it feels like when somebody appreciates you. This is what it feels like when you're doing a good job, but not like completely overwhelmed by breathing some days. And then not everybody's going to cheer you on from the sidelines. Some people are going to try to cut you down, and you have to come up with the thermometer that says what this person is saying is crap, because I know from this person who I trust and who has my back and who wouldn't lie to me, because you do have some friends who just be like, yeah, girl, boss babes. Chico, you don't have a job. You're not a boss babe. Or a career or a business, you're not a boss babe. Okay? Can we please stop saying that? But if you have that real friend who will be like, you know what? You're sleeping better. I don't hear you as much at night. Oh crap, you were hearing me? Sorry. My bad. I'll work on that. And then you go, wait a minute, she just said she wasn't hearing me anymore, so I'm already doing that. I'm fine. So for that networking thing, I did setting a goal. So if I go into a networking meeting, my goal is to talk to the one person I know and at least two other people that I don't know, right? Because that gets me talking to people about my business, and then I can go from there. And then I get a reward for myself, right? I just did something difficult. That was freaking Mount St. Helens for me. Okay? And so I get to go and do the thing. So I get a reward. I get to have popcorn, or I watch a movie. I don't even like movies, so guaranteed that's not my reward. But it could be yours. Whatever. You do something that says, hey, I did a good job. Here's this little thing that says you appreciate yourself. So do that. Appreciate yourself, because not everybody else is going to.
I was just thinking of that super trite expression, don't accept criticism from somebody that you wouldn't accept compliments from. And that goes for ourselves.
Oh, you had to go there.
I totally had to go there.
Look, if you wouldn't stop to piss on somebody if they were on fire, obviously don't take their advice. Because that's obviously not somebody you value.
But we also spend so much time criticizing ourselves,
Oh, yeah.
shaming
Look,
ourselves,
you
guilting
obviously
ourselves,
need to
right?
be able to stop and piss on yourself if the fire is there. Not like that.
But that means that we also need to notice the good stuff going on. The fact
Yeah.
that we're sleeping better, we're not as loud at night. That, hey, I did this in 15 minutes instead of 3 hours.
It takes time, but eventually you do start to notice it because somebody will go, oh, you got that to me quicker than you said you would. And not because you were up for 5 nights in a row or 2.
Right.
So set boundaries for yourself, no matter if it's your mental health or your business or your work. Set the boundaries so that you know where your overwhelm starts.
And
Narrow
if you
them down
don't
a little bit.
understand what boundaries are, I did not grow up understanding what boundaries were.
No.
I was like, what is this word of which you say? I can parrot it, but I do not understand it. It's just the ways that you take care of yourself.
Your
And
rules for living.
your rules for living. And sometimes that's my rule is that people can't yell at me. Or I will not talk about religion or politics with people I don't know.
I won't
Those
talk
are
about it with people I do
boundaries.
know.
Exactly. But that's boundaries. I am not interested in somebody touching my body, even just to hug me or shake my hand without me feeling okay with it. Somebody reaches out to shake my hand and I'm like, ooh, they're skeevy. Hey, how's it going?
I don't even do
That's a
it for, hey, they
boundary.
look skeevy. It's at church, I don't allow people to touch or hug me. I have a compromised immune system because of the medicines I'm on.
Yeah.
And I'm an asthmatic who is triggered by smells. So there's that. Plus my hands I have arthritis in them. And if you squeeze too hard, I will try to punch you with the other one.
Yeah.
Because it hurts. Not because I'm
you
trying to
have-
hurt
you
you, but
have
because it
boundaries.
hurts. So I have boundaries. And so sometimes somebody will not realize it and they'll reach out their hand to shake. And I'm just like, hi. Usually with my hand in my pocket. So like they're not even tempted to touch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because don't touch
So
it.
boundaries within your business could be, I will only work from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
My big one for my business is that I don't work on Tuesdays. And I go to the chiropractor and my therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So I go out of the house on those days. And so I don't work on those days. But I work on Saturdays.
I work
Because
half
I'm
day
home
on Saturday
anyway.
mornings. Yeah.
I do it later. Like I don't start until 1 o'clock on Saturdays because every once in a while I want to be able to sleep the crap in.